For those of you who don't know me, and there are several in the congregation today, I shook your hand and introduced myself at the beginning, but most of you know me. I'm Craig Cassel. I was a member here at All Saints for the last 27 years, and I call myself a cradle-to-grave Episcopalian, even though it's a really strange story. My father and mother were married by Kermit Lloyd, a former priest here at All Saints, and my father and mother were United Methodists. But in a flippant agreement that my father made, Kermit Lloyd made my father promise to have his children baptized in the Episcopal Church, but they weren't members of the church. So 6 months after I was born, and my sister preceded me by 1.5 years, so she was 2 and I was 6 months old, he came knocking at the kitchen door and said that he needed to follow through with the agreement. And my mother and father were surprised, but he proceeded to baptize us in the farm kitchen sink as Episcopalians. My sister still hasn't realized that yet. She's still a Methodist. But fast forward, and I met my wife at Lower Dauphin High School, another strange turn of events because she's from the UP of Michigan. And she came to the big city to do fashion and design in her, from her dreams of coming to the big city. But it got sidetracked as a teacher at Lower Dauphin High School. Not sure how all that transpired, but it's a story in itself. And if you know Becky, she's great at telling it. So she ended up in the halls of Lower Dauphin, and I met her. And this was in 1995, and a year later, we found ourselves up at Tom and Peg Liphart's home church and Becky's home church up in Escanaba, Michigan, in front of the altar, and we got married there. So one of the best gifts that I got from the Episcopal Church, besides the baptism in my kitchen sink, was meeting my wife. And then, of course, our children came, and we had our children here as I became an official active member of the church because I had been married in the church and baptized in the church, and I got kind of active in this church, and we had our son, Elliot, who many of you know, and our daughter, Avery. And everything was going well. We were teaching Sunday school here, and I ran for a term for vestry and then a second term for vestry, and we were getting very involved. But 6 months after Avery was born, this is where I get emotional. She was diagnosed with a congenital brain problem. Her skull was malformed. We traveled all over the United States to Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. We made calls to the Children's Hospital in Boston to try to find the answer to this congenital birth defect. And somewhere in the context of the conversation at both places, it came up that we were from Hershey, Pennsylvania, and the one surgeon looked at us in wonder and said, "You do know that the best surgeon in the world is from Hershey, Pennsylvania?" And we said, "What?" Yeah, there's a man named Dr. Donald Mackay in Hershey, and he's from South Africa, but he's done his internship and residency in Ireland, and he's now, Scotland, I think he would say, and he's now in Hershey. We're like, well, we don't know this guy, and so we came back here, and time was of the essence, and we found out that Dr. Donald Mackay was a member of our congregation, so we asked the priest to introduce us, Conversation ensued. Surgery was done. Wonderful success. And Dr. Mackay and Susan Mackay have been our closest friends since. Just wonderful people. And the coincidence, from all over the world, we were looking for a surgeon, and he was right here in All Saints. So you're starting to see how these coincidences are lining up. Maybe not so much. They may not be coincidences. Anyway, after Avery's surgery, we really started to get involved in the children's program here. My wife took the kids on a vestry retreat. She served on the vestry. We were faithful followers of Joan Pruitt's Eat and Run on Wednesday, and Elliot got involved with that. He became the chief bottle washer and chooser of the biscuits and foods that she was going to serve with dinner, because he likes to cook and eat. Becky became a member of the choir, and we became very involved. And now our children are grown up. They are doing their thing. Avery's up in the UP as a graduate student. Elliot is here taking a job starting tomorrow at Lower Dauphin, the job that I gave up 2 years ago, retired from. And, I can't promise everyone that in this church that you're going to find these amazing interventions with Christ that I have enjoyed, but I have found that not just in this year's campaign, but in everything I do here, the more that I give to All Saints, the more that I do in All Saints, in the end, it seems the more I get back in return. And so from the bottom of my heart, as a vestry member and as a member of the congregation, I ask you to give generously in this Rooted in Abundance campaign, because you too will find a lot in this congregation. And, like I say, the more you give, the more you get in return. So thank you.